Okay, so I'm very pleased to know that word is getting back out about how all great apes are fake, all of them. And I just don't think it's possible to be racist without believing in great apes and Ooga Booga tribes in the fake news. I keep forgetting to do this, so I'm just going to do it right here and now. You should know that all established churches are tranny churches with a fat little Martin preacher, and he's always married to a gigantic, probably not even a castrato, but probably just simply a guy in a dress that tucks and talks in a screechy voice. People say that Paul in the Bible is very suspect, and they have their reasons, but one thing I always wondered was, well, why is he such a huge misogynist? Why does he hate women so much? And he says that he won't allow a woman to speak in church, and it's like, well, maybe you're just a misogynistic jerk, but when you look at the Martin preachers, Mexico, maybe those misogynistic pigs they're onto something. It's not much better when the castrato is screeching on the stage. Oh, and they all use NIV, which I'm not a scholar. I've looked at side-by-side comparisons at what they've changed from KJV, which is the only good Bible, to NIV, and notably they take out all references to fasting, and they take out references to real men being really, really rare. They just change it to person. Although, I suppose, if you kind of stretch your thinking and you believe that we're surrounded by organic robotoids and fake people, then, yeah, that would work too, because there are more dick girls than there are actually real women that have real woman puberty. And most of those so-called real women are actually very satanic. If you're a Satanist, I don't think you're a real person. I think you're a fake person. Maybe the NIV isn't really wrong in that area, but real, genuine, honest to God, giant rectangle men, those guys are so rare. Like if they keep their balls. And I don't really see how a guy with balls wearing a dress would not be a real man. He would just be an abomination, but technically he would be a real man, technically. And I'm just one of those people, I'm one of those, well, technically people, that is me. And another thing, these tax-exempt churches, I don't know a lot about this, but they're called 501c3 churches, and what stands out to me about 501c3 is if you turn 5 into V, which is an equal value to 5, in Roman, the Roman numerals, Roman gematria. Yeah, so if you turn the 5 into a V, it's going to say voice. Because one of the things that they like to do is just take the pure symbol and put a numeric value on it. So M, W, 3, and E. Those are, when you think about it, they're all kind of the same shape. They can be pointy or soft or sloppy, but you could turn them into a 3. They like E, E, they like M, M, W, W, or maybe 4 V's for that matter. And actually, just another little spurgy note, B and V are very closely related, when it comes to the sounds you make with your mouth. Just one of those little things. So I have gone to a few different tranny churches, and they're all fundamentally the same. Just have a little Martin preacher. And actually another reason why, now, public speaking and presenting are skills that anybody can develop. You could have a really bad speech impediment, but you could still actually get very skilled at speaking and giving presentations. But females just have a low frequency voice. If you hear anybody that has a voice like mine that cannot be easily understood all the time, if there is a fan in the background, you wouldn't be able to hear what I'm saying. But other people with a high frequency voice, like all of the so-called women celebrities are all boys, and they have a high frequency voice and a powerful trachea and really big lungs and a big diaphragm, and they can hold these really long, powerful notes that the Martin singers just can't do that with their lungs. Their lungs are just smaller, the diaphragm's smaller, and the frequency of the voice. I'm not an expert on sounds or music, certainly not, but a low-frequency voice is very easily swallowed up by a noisy environment, and people with low-frequency voices often find themselves yelling just to be heard. But if there's going to be machinery operating nearby, it doesn't matter how loud you yell. You're just going to make a slightly louder low-frequency buzz that won't be heard. But if you got a high-frequency voice, your voice will pierce all sorts of noises. The best way to figure this out is listen to a radio. All of the people on the radio are going to be trannies. So you're going to have the teed up Martins going buzz, 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 buzz. And then you're going to hear some Strats just screeching over them. And you're going to hear the Strats screeching more than the buzzing. Always remember that. So even with a loudspeaker or a audio system set up, it's not going to change the fact that the Martin preachers' voices are low frequency. And it's very notable that they all use NIV. and their sermons are so crappy. Like, they will pick out just a few verses from NIV, and then they'll go, oh, this is such a nice verse, let's say it 100 million times more, stretch this out to 3 hours. Well, okay, just 1 hour, but oh, and the cringe-tastic music. Like, they always have these just terrible, terrible Christian rock. I mean, no offense to the people just playing the music, but the song selections are really cringy, and they usually give praise to the morning star, and we all know what that is. They don't always address Christ directly. And the images of Christ, you should not have any images, because only bad things will happen if you have images of Jesus Christ and Yah. Like, you should not make images, okay, for those. I mean, if you want to draw a picture of a flower or a horse or whatever, yeah, that's cool. But you should not ever have depictions of the Creator and the Messiah. You just shouldn't. And so they all have the image of Phoenician tranny Jesus. It's a Martin with twisty red hair, and he's got a Sacred Heart, and he's wearing blue robes. Like, that image is just really offensive because it's a tranny, and just the real Messiah, he's not going to look anything like that, I promise you. He's not going to be a tranny, and chances are he's actually going to probably be a medium brown red color. I don't know about that part, but one thing's certain, he's going to be a real man. And the sermons are always just fluff. They never talk about fasting. I keep bringing this up. NIV omits stuff about fasting. And fasting is mentioned as being very important in the Bible. And if you live a sensible lifestyle, fasting is actually just going to naturally be a part of it. It's not going to be something you think about. You don't have to go, oh, I have to force myself to not eat for a whole day, man. Like, you don't even need to do that. You just simply eat when you feel like it. You just gotta drink lots of clean water, and tea is a great thing. And just fasting is great for you. It makes your body rest and catch up on things and eat up its own scar tissue and just heal. You probably would notice that if you're looking at your options for dinner, and you know that if you're gonna eat something that's like a heavy meal that's gonna have a lot of meat in it, in my experience, you have to go, oh, I'd be so tired after I ate that, because digesting it would take a lot of effort actually. So you'd be tired because your body's just putting out so much effort to digest something. But if you just eat something, light and fresh, like salads and apples, that's really easy to digest, and you're not going to be bogged down and tired, because just a little snack here and there, something easy to digest, hey? Don't take much effort. There's people who know a whole lot about diet stuff, and they could talk to you about food and the things we eat and all of that stuff. The evils of sugar, that stuff is so evil. Refined sugar is very similar to Satan. It seems good in your mouth, but it's so awful. It's noteworthy that most of the congregations are gossiping trannies, and the pastor's probably going to be a big fatty, fat. Gluttony's a sin, and the Bible talks out against gluttony. Fatty, fat. Yeah, I'm pretty sure God did not make man in the image of a fat dick girl. Just saying. Now, if you visited a bunch of different tranny churches, like from just around wherever you are, and even in other states, if you're visiting other states and you go pop into a church and just kind of have a look around, you're going to notice that without exception, each and every single one is going to have their pet Ooga Booga tribe. And this ties into the fake great ape thing, like the fake primitive tribes. People need to talk about this more. I really wish people would just speak out against this one more, because I think this one is so important. All of the everything in National Geographic is fake. That is such a big promoter of just pure horse shit on print. And a lot of those images are just nothing but tiny models that have been photographed to look huge. Those animals are fake. They're usually like animatronics or just taxidermy props. Sometimes there'll be a painted up real animal like a zebra, or a Photoshop abomination with some grinning duping delight tranny talking about how orangutans are going extinct because you ordered an extra coffee, and if we can get abortions up to 1,000,000%, then the orangutans won't go extinct, even though orangutans don't exist in the first place. Anyhow, back to the fake primitive tribes. They're trying to get you to think that you really did just come from one of their fictional great apes, and that people are savages and people are horrible and people are naturally going to mutilate themselves in terrible ways. If you've seen the 80s musical film Little Shop of Horrors, there's that magical scene with the dentist guy. Actually, I really love that scene. I just smile every time I think about that.